challenging element of the Good Samaritan is that it forces us to expand our understanding of neighborhood to include all people, even, as it were, sworn enemies. But the Good Samaritan helps a man that he happens upon. He hasn't gone looking for a beaten and bloodied Israelite to help. He isn't running a mission to rescue battered Israelites. If we leave the story by itself, we could give ourselves an easy out on this whole show mercy to people we don't like thing. We could do as the Good Samaritan and show mercy to those whom we come across in our daily lives. And let's face it, in our daily routines, we too rarely encounter people who are dramatically different from ourselves, let alone someone we might consider an enemy. Yet the relationship between the Israelites and Samaritans connects this story with a passage from Matthew's Gospel. When Jesus says, "I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you," he refuses to let us off the hook. And then Jesus says something that has come back to me time and time again in the year that I have been involved in the disaster recovery. For God makes the sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the righteous and on the unrighteous. It is easy for us to rattle off a list of strangers, even enemies. In our increasingly polarized society, we are often pushed into adding personal characteristics as reason enough to be suspicious, even to hate. A person's income, rich or poor, their race or ethnicity, their level of education or sexuality, even their political party affiliation. Along the Gulf Coast, there are special targets like FEMA, politicians, or insurance companies. And I have to admit that there are days when I want to believe that a special place in hell is reserved for crooked contractors who rip off people like Jean and Janet. It is easy to give in to labeling some people and then blame them for life's problems, even for natural disasters like Hurricane Katrina. That's why I was so glad to meet Victor one hot June afternoon. I don't know whether Victor ever heard Jesus' declaration that God sends rain on the righteous and on the unrighteous, but he knew enough about the nature of God to understand that a loving, creating God does not target hundreds of thousands of people, or even one, because of the alleged sins of others. It is dangerous how easy it has become for us to label and blame. Thankfully, Jesus offers a simple remedy. The next time it rains, take a drive through your neighborhood. Take a drive through any neighborhood. Try to determine who is good and who is evil. Who is faithful, righteous, and just? Who is unfaithful, wicked, a sinner? If God used nature to hand out rewards and punishments, a drive through the neighborhood would look strange indeed. Half of every home would be bathed in sunlight, and half of every home would be showered in rain. Every home, even our own. Week of Compassion gives us the opportunity to live out some of Jesus' most important teachings, to see all people, whether we are inclined to label them friend or enemy, as a neighbor with unique needs, to recognize something of ourselves tied up in the needs and suffering of others, and to show mercy to all our neighbors. Together, we continue to respond and partner with people like Mark, who teach us that needs outweigh professed beliefs. Together, we continue to partner with people like Jean and Janet, who caution us that righteous anger can turn to sinful hate. Together, we continue to partner with people like Victor, who teach us that a loving God is not the source of pain, but of healing, and that God desires good for God's children. Together, Week of Compassion is enabling disciples, volunteers, and disciple congregations throughout the United States and Canada to shower love and hope on people in need. For God makes the sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the righteous and on the unrighteous. If we are to be perfect in our imitation of God, then our love must likewise